This is Toon Talk Weekly, episode 190. This week, things get a little radical when we go back to the 90s and we watch an episode of the series Mighty Max.
I have scavenged 1 million fleshless souls of man and beast. Grant my passage to Earth where I may hunt my fill. So long has it been since I have tasted pulp and blood.
Stand away, Talon. Only one who beareth the cap of the Mighty One may open this gate. Hast thou the cap?
Open thy gate. I have waited endless millennia for this Mighty One, and still he does not come.
The gate shall not open, save for he who beareth the cap.
Wretched gatekeeper, I shall not be confined.
Day just keeps getting better.
Boy. Where is that kid?
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday once again. That means it's time for another episode of the weekly cartoon podcast, Toon Talk Weekly. That is, of course, this show you've tuned into today. That was not a pun. It just works out that way. This is the show where every single week we talk about a new cartoon. I'm Jake Williams. I'm not the only voice you're going to hear this week, though. I brought along my good buddy Brad Chmielewski. Talk cartoons once again. What's up, man?
What's up? How's it going?
It's going well. We made it to another week of video. I'm going to keep bringing it up until we don't.
Until we don't do video?
Until there's that 1 week when I'm way too I can't do it this week, man.
There's no turning back.
Yeah, once you go video, you can't go back.
Video, it's the future. No, it's
It's the future. It's the best way we can actually do this show, honestly. How's it going, man? How you been?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I learned how to use the Cartoon Network app on my phone.
What?
So I think I figured it out.
So we need more content for the YouTube. What I was thinking is you do a tutorial on this app now. What were you using the Cartoon Network app for on your phone?
I needed more Clarence episodes. So
Hold on. Can we just talk about the way you phrased that? I needed more Clarence episodes.
yeah, because Hulu is always an entire season behind. Well, they're 2 seasons behind Steven Universe, so I haven't seen season 3 or 4 that's airing now. And Clarence, they're like missing 3 episodes of season 2, and then season 3, it's all on Cartoon Network's app. So I needed more Clarence.
You just you say it like a child that ran out of candy, and you're like, I needed more candy. I just needed it at that point. That's really funny. And it's funny that you had to go to the mobile app. Where you weren't even at a computer that you were like, I just need it right now.
Yeah, but it still sucks because it's like, oh, here's episode 1, here's 3, here's episode 5, 9, 13, 14, 15. It's like, this is does me no help in the long run.
Why do you think the websites, I think Nick has a habit of doing that kind of stuff too. Like the channel's website tends to only put up a handful. Is it because kids they don't care about the continuity? Like, we might want to completely watch the season. You just want to find an episode to put on.
I don't know. I don't think they might be advertising rights to it. Like, it has to be airing for so long on TV before it can go there, or they don't want to put it all up there because it's a different kind of commercial that they can't charge for.
That's interesting. I'd never really given it any thought. Like, hey, why do they actually do this? But it can be a total pain when you're trying to watch a bunch of shows, and you need to get it directly from them.
Because watching MSNBC on mobile, you get no commercials, and it's weird. You could just get music when they go to commercial break. It's like, what kind of weird legal rule is this that you can't run commercials on the internet streaming version? I don't know.
Dude, I've noticed the same thing through Comcast, their Xfinity app. I'll watch sports and ESPN or something silly like that. But if I watch it on my phone or my tablet or something, all I get is their logo for 2 minutes instead of ads, which I kind of like more because I can just put the phone down and like rest your eyes. Like, you're not inundated. But then there's other weird things, like if you want to watch a specific game, you can't watch it on a phone on the app, but you can watch it on a tablet on the app because they assume somehow they're different when they're really not. But I think they must have some sort of rule against, you can't just like, everyone's got a phone and we don't want everyone just walking over and sharing this game with their whatever.
I guess so, yeah.
I have no idea.
There was watching the mobile app, there's like a new cartoon on here that looked pretty good. Oh, it's the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs cartoon that's coming to Cartoon Network, I think next month, so we'll have to do that here soon.
Oh, for sure. But let's not talk about sports. I know I was just talking about that. But I do have a small bit of news I actually noticed a couple days ago. I should actually retweet this because I can't believe I didn't think of it. But Patrick McHale, the guy that made Over the Garden Wall, says that Dark Horse, the comic production, is putting together an Art of Over the Garden Wall book.
Whoa, okay.
So kind of excited about that. I mean, we watched Over the Garden Wall back in episode 70-something. It was halfway through our show. And I think we both really liked that show, binging 10 episodes to get the complete story. And it wraps up really nicely, and it led to a really interesting discussion, I think, of how, Brad, you and I both saw the world a little bit differently, maybe. So now to see that we get some really cool art of some of the crazy places they go, like the riverboat with all the frogs, or the weird scarecrow people, who was there was the creepy old like aunt or granny, like that kind of stuff is super creepy. So really cool to see that there's going to be an Art of Over the Garden Wall book that is sure to be one that I'll purchase as soon as I can get to it.
Nice.
But this week we're talking about a show from the 90s. I thought it was time again. And man, I got to say, sometimes when I pick 90s cartoons, I just pick them because I think to myself, we got to cover something rad. And that's really the word to describe the early 90s and what they were trying to do with cartoons, like the cartoon we're watching today called Mighty Max. Mighty Max, surprisingly, I had completely forgotten about this, but I knew Mighty Max, not the guy.
I knew him. We were like best friends. We hung out. He came to my birthday party. He got me this Nerf gun one year.
Okay, I didn't know him that well. But I knew of Mighty Max, and I wasn't sure why. And it wasn't until I looked it up that Mighty Max had toys at McDonald's. So you get them at Happy Meals.
I could see that because I was about to say, I think he's one of the Burger King kids.
Yeah, so that was the other thing. And maybe I shouldn't trust everything on the internet, but it says in 1994, the popularity of basically the merchandising for the show, not the show, was so popular that they were in McDonald's Happy Meals. But I could have sworn, just like you said, that it was at Burger King, and I prefer Burger King over McDonald's. I'm saying it here now.
Okay.
So I don't know, but I don't remember getting kids' meals or like what I got at Burger King. I do remember at one point Burger King had you could pay an extra $1 for a Pokeball, like a plastic Pokeball that would open up, and it had a gold-plated, probably a gold-flaked, it was fake, I'm sure, like Pikachu or like a different Pokemon like card. That was sweet.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Again, but that's not about Mighty Max. So did you know about the property Mighty Max? Does this character look familiar to you?
Once I started watching it, I was kind of like, I think I've seen this, or I recognize this, but I'd never seen this show. We get thrown into this episode, and I will comment once we start talking about it. I was incredibly lost.
Right from the get-go, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the background of what we got here for Mighty Max. It's an American animated sci-fi and action TV series, as all needed to be in the 90s. There weren't really many brooding, dark shows in the 90s. It was just all radical all the time. Aired from 93 to 94. It was actually aimed to promote the British Mighty Max toys, which was like an outgrowth or a side kind of project of Polly Pocket line. I think it was like the boy version of Polly Pocket in a way, I guess.
Maybe, yeah. Okay.
But I don't remember the little like play sets, but I can remember seeing specific toys. And the show had 2 seasons and 40 total episodes. By all accounts, though, all I can read is that literally the show is around to merchandise or to sell those toys, but the merchandising and stuff for the show were way popular than the show ever was. Like, nobody cared about the show, it sounds like.
Okay.
As we mentioned, it was in McDonald's Happy Meals, too.
All right, yeah. Looking quick search on the internet, I know what these look like. I feel like I saw them, but to me, it was still like, oh, that's just the boy version of Polly Pocket. That's still stupid.
Oh my goodness, dude, this is bringing back some memories. Holy crap. Okay. That's why I remember it so much. It's exactly boy Polly Pocket, right? You got like these cool toys that are these little play sets where they would be kind of enclosed, but you would open it up like a Walkman or something, right?
Yeah, and there's like a
Yeah.
land inside.
This one, I don't know which photos you're looking at here, but there's one that's like a snake that like opens up, and then it's like a jungle, like ruins inside. That's pretty cool. You know what, though? Looking at these toys, you don't really get much toy. Like, the novelty is, that it's like all goes together, but it's also tiny. Like, there's like, what are you supposed to do with that?
Yeah, like the little figures inside are probably like the size of your pinky.
And it looks like the heads, or rather, most of the toys are the heads of villains from the series, and you would open them up and have stuff, because I see one here that is the villain Talon that we'll talk about today. That's like a skull. That's kind of cool. And then in 1995, they had Adventures of Mighty Max, the video game. I don't remember this, but it was on the SNES and Sega Genesis. And also, there was a 10-episode comic book series. There were puzzles, sticker albums, board games like this. This went all out on Mighty Max here. And we knew very little of it, basically.
Okay.
So let's describe the story of Mighty Max. What can you describe, or what can you assume is going to happen with the series? And from what I can gather is... basically what I'm about to tell you about the story must happen in the first episode, because otherwise, why would I know this exact thing and why it happens, right? So Max is an adventurous preteen boy who receives a small statue of a fowl in the mail one day, and upon breaking it, it reveals that he has become the chosen cap bearer. There's a red cap rather with a yellow M. So now it's his responsibility to.
He's Mario.
He's basically Mario in this case. After being teleported to the Mongolian desert, he befriends Virgil, who's an anthropomorphic fowl, and Norman, his Viking bodyguard. And basically, the series is together. They travel around the world defending Earth against minions of Skullmaster, who appears to be the main villain. Who actually we don't even. You would think the villain we came across in this episode should be probably named Skullmaster, but he's not featured in this episode at all. And it seems like most episodes take place on Earth. In different situations. However, in this episode, we're on the astral plane, man. We're in we're in a totally different dimension.
Yeah, it's kind of deep, like especially the little PSA at the end of the episode.
Right? So I was thinking right off the bat, like some of the jokes and some of the ways they were saying stuff, I was like, this is dark and a little like spooky. Like, what kid is like thinking this is super rad when really it's kind of scary? Like, I don't know, these thoughts are pretty deep for this.
Mm-hmm.
So our main characters we'll talk about today, we've, of course, got Mighty Max, preteen boy. He just thinks everything's rad, I guess. I don't know. He's pretty confident for his age, I guess.
Yeah, I wish I could think of a show or a movie where it's like, oh yeah, this kid was that kid.
Right.
I don't know. He's almost like like a Rodney Dangerfield kid version. Where like, I got this covered. Let me tell you this joke, and here we go. We're in.
Yep.
Go for it.
And it's just, everything's going to be okay. He feels invincible, I guess, in a lot of situations. He's actually voiced also, I couldn't get past this, by Rob Paulson, who also does, I believe, one of the Animaniacs who is Wacko, I think. He does Pinky. He does, I believe, also Donatello and Raphael in the original and the new Turtles series. So it was just hearing his voice that it's not very different from those, but I can see if it's not in a popular cartoon, you don't really need to have that range to push something unique, I guess. I don't know. Virgil is the fowl. He's just some kind of bird. I don't really know. I'm just going to call him a fowl because there's a long-running joke with the series that Max continually calls Virgil a chicken when he's actually he says, no, I'm a fowl. Oh, okay, dude.
Yeah, okay.
And then you got Norman, who's the Viking bodyguard, who, man, doesn't seem very bright. But he'll fight whatever you tell him to fight. Like he's
it's like, hey, go fight that thing. All right, I got this.
But he's like confident and not like raging about it. He's not like, I'm gonna go kill a bunch of stuff. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll fight it, whatever. Yeah.
But he's not even very good at it.
No, yeah. So, and our villain today in our episode of Mighty Max is Talon, which is it's a gigantic skull that I can only imagine is being carried by a 10 times gigantic eagle. That's the villain. It's like
Yeah.
it's super sad because if that eagle decided he wanted to do something else for a living, it's like, dude, you're just a skull, man.
Just a skull, yeah.
The episode, if you guys want to follow along, there's tons of these episodes all over the internet. I'm not going to link it up for you today, but we'll have some clips from it if you want to see how ridiculous it is too. Season 2, episode 11, called Souls of Talon. That's even like a dark title for a Saturday morning cartoon. One thing I'm going to mention real quick about before we talk about the story of the episode and get into kind of our thoughts on it is, did you notice the way they use shading to define the characters was very weird?
Oh, I guess I didn't really notice that.
It's not weird, but where you would take something to give it form, or like a shirt might have wrinkles, or you want to only light one side of their face, you would just darken the color, right? Like you would shade it, use a gradient, that kind of thing to give it some roundness. They just used black.
Oh, okay.
It was way more comic booky, where it was super distracting, honestly, for me to watch it. And this is only something that I guess animation nerds or artist nerds might notice, but I was just, anytime they needed to shade something, it would be full black. There was no like overlay, nothing like that. It was so crazy. So
Oh, interesting. I might have to look at that again. I guess I wasn't paying that much attention to it or didn't think about it.
it's even weird when you watch such, there's not high resolution qualities of this thing out there. So even seeing it now, it's like, phew, I don't know, man. So the episode Souls of Talon begins, well, a little confusing. It throws you right in there. We're in this like other dimension, and there's a skull who we find out is Talon being carried by this giant eagle vulture thing, and he goes up to this eyeball that's above a door who's known as the gatekeeper, and he basically says, "I've collected 1 million souls, let me through."
And the eye is like, you gotta have the cap.
Yeah, so apparently you can't leave this astral plane dimension unless you have the cap. And I mean, there's only one cap in this world. They've made it as famous as Mario's cap now here. They've decided it's Mighty Max's cap. Okay, spoiler. That's what he's looking for. And what's great here about the comedy, though, is that they cut immediately to, like, this guy can't get through this gate to another dimension after he's collected 1 million souls, but it cuts to Max can't find 9-volt batteries for, like, his Walkman, so his world is ruined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What kind of Walkman takes 9-volt batteries? Jesus.
I know. I also love that they bring up Walkman specifically. I thought that was a brand, right? Something.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe it was Discman. Maybe Walkman was what it was called. Like, anyway.
Yeah.
And so, actually, we get Max's mission for the day. I'm assuming he must always get this. He finds a present in his parents' closet, and it's for his birthday coming up, and he says, "Oh, I'll just open it now, and they'll have to get me another one."
It's for me. Hey, maybe I should go ahead and open it now, huh? Then Mom's gonna have to get me another present to open on my birthday. She might get mad, though. Oh, come on. I found it fair and square. She should have picked a better hiding place, right? A Virgil doll? I asked for a CD player.
Greetings, mighty one. A dire situation awaits you at the Rock of Gibraltar. Take the portal at the archery range, and next time, wait till your birthday to open your presents.
Great. A plastic chicken doll telling me what to do.
Plastic fowl doll, actually.
I like the logic. I like it.
What? Looking for an extra gift there?
I already opened this. I have nothing to open on my birthday. That's really sad that would happen. So you got to get me another one.
Oh my gosh. Turns out it wasn't from his mom, and it was actually a statue of Virgil, the fowl that he kind of travels with. So this must be how he gets his missions all the time.
I guess, but as someone who hadn't seen this show or known anything about this, it's like, oh, he got this like weird owl thing, and he was kind of pissed about it. And now it's like talking to him, and then like, oh crap, they just portaled somewhere, and this owl's real big. I was like, what happened?
Yeah, exactly. And we're coming at this like 20-something episodes into the series, man. This is season 2. So we should have, if we had seen all of it up to this point, we'd be like, oh, I bet it's a Virgil doll.
Yeah, maybe we would have predicted it, but yeah, one off, you're just like, that's not a very good present. He's not that upset about it. Oh, wait, it's like, oh, wait, this is happening. Like, oh no, where's this going?
And yeah, you were right. He somehow gets portaled to whatever to where Virgil and Norman are. I'm sorry, Norman is not a Viking name that I can take serious. Greg the Barbarian.
He's just a normal man. He's a normal man. Like, he's a normal guy.
Nice.
Don't worry.
I see
Don't
what you
worry
did
about
there. All right. He's portaled, and then some other portal basically opens that is purple. I guess that's how you indicate that it goes to this astral plane where Talon was located. I keep saying astral plane, but to describe this dimension, it's just like a big floaty area with like checkerboard patterns. I don't know, wispy, gooey looking stuff.
Right. If you want to compare it to anything, it's kind of like in Tiny Toons where they go to Wacko's world.
Yeah.
it's that.
Like less objects floating around, but the same idea. Like it's just a bizarre place to be. Some surrealist painting or something.
But the owl dude is saying, like, that's the dark dimension. Like, you really don't want to go in there. There's no reason to. And Max, being the little punk he is, like, I'm going to check it out.
Yeah. His reasoning was like, Virgil's trying to figure out, will this send us to one of the dark corners of this dimension?
Because we may never get out. That's
yeah. We will be dead forever. And yet Max says, let me just put my big toe in. Which when they cut back to him, he's walking straight in, man. He didn't just put his toe in. He went. So, of course, Virgil and Norman are now separated from him, and they have to find a way to get in there as well.
I guess our only thing we could compare this to would be like a black hole.
Sure.
If we could actually go into black holes, but it would be the same idea where we just don't. We have no idea what's over there.
Right.
Your black hole could put you in, underwater, and then you're dead. But
right. This portal could send Max anywhere. We're not sure. They know what dimension apparently, but not sure where in there. And upon being in there, you can float and fly around. So that's what Max does. Wait a second. Why does Talon need the eagle? If a human can like just float around, why doesn't he just float around as a skull?
I think their powers are tied together.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a moment later in the episode, okay, that makes me think that might be the case too. So Max is flying around. He's in this dimension. He ends up being spotted by Talon and chased. He's, of course, just kind of mocking him the entire time. Like, dude, you're a little kid. That thing's going to eat you. Don't badmouth him, basically. Yet he ends up escaping. He gets to some sort of cave, and in the cave is all this treasure. And the only piece of treasure...
But hold on. Before he does that, Talon sees him fly in here, and he's like, hey, Mighty One, come out. And then, and then he does it, and Talon's like, all right, we got to find him. And flies like, I saw you go in there.
And he talked
come
to
out.
him.
Whoa! That's not just another pretty face.
Surrender, fool, thou hast entered the domain of Talon. Hand over thy cap.
Sorry. My mother told me never to talk to strangers, especially ones with no skin and birds on their skulls. Later. Oh, man, it's following me. This isn't fun anymore.
Thou hast no hope of hiding from mine eyes, mighty one. Reveal thyself. Well, take flight and find him, bird.
Oh, you're not going to come out? Maybe he's not here.
Yeah.
The worst villain ever.
Yeah. We should start ranking worst villains, because I think Talon might be up there. For as spooky as he looks, he's got it down. He's scary. Doesn't have the brains. So in this cave, we find a bunch of treasure, and the only piece of treasure that Max is interested in, him being a teenager, is a CD. It's like a gold, cool-looking CD, and he's all bummed that he didn't bring his Walkman because he could have listened to whatever it is.
There's so much gold and treasure in there. He could have bought any CD later, but he picked up that one.
Yeah. So that's the only piece of treasure he picks. Meanwhile, Virgil and Norman have found a way to get to the astral plane. They essentially... I don't remember if it was some sort of incantation or spell or something that essentially separated them from their bodies. So their physical bodies are still back on Earth, but ghostly sort of apparition versions of themselves were sent to the plane to aid in Max's quest.
Mm-hmm. And this is where you realize, like, oh, this is kind of pretty deep now, because it's like a transcendental place, I guess.
I feel like if you're watching this now as an adult, you can maybe wrap your head around the concepts of what they're going for, but as a kid, it's really just a plot device to get the other side characters to be with Max. Like, it does, and I don't quite remember how Talon ends up getting it, but he ends up getting the hat from Max.
He just like takes it off his head.
Yeah. Apparently it wasn't that hard. He takes it, he goes through to Earth, and now suddenly Max is stuck in this dimension, and he can't get through because his eyeball's like, dude, no, man, you got to have the cap. That guy had the cap.
The gatekeeper is like, you have to have the cap to leave. Mm-hmm. But then Max kind of, does his, he just talks him into it. He's like, you don't want to be the one that let Talon destroy Earth.
Yeah.
I'm the chosen one. Just let me through.
I did grab this line, and I may or may not put this clip in here, but originally Max was actually trying to kind of egg on. It seemed like he was patronizing the eyeball, the gatekeeper guy. This line is literally in a children's cartoon. He says, I'm not making the eye guy here angry. I'm helping him before he pulls the great big cosmic boner of the millennium. He called a mistake or a catastrophe a boner. That's how 90s this show is. So that's kind of awesome.
Mighty One, this is a very powerful entity. I wouldn't make him angry.
I'm not making Eye Guy here angry. I'm helping him before he pulls the great big cosmic boner of the millennium.
What dost thou
You must realize that I'm the Mighty One, the one who bears the cap, Just because I don't have the cap doesn't mean I'm not the cap bearer.
Only one who beareth the cap
Of the Mighty One may open this gate. Yeah, save your breath, because frankly, I gotta tell you, I don't think you've got a very good handle on this gatekeeper gig.
I beg thy pardon. Mighty One, this is not a good idea.
Meanwhile, they had also sent Norman, the Viking, to go kind of deal back to that dimension, so he's able to just port back. I guess if you're in the astral plane, like leave your body thing, they could just decide, hey, wake up from your meditation, right?
Right, but the fowl guy is kind of like, I gotta help you out because you're Max and you're an idiot.
you need me, yeah.
It really sucks that you became the chosen one.
You've been regretting it the entire series. Yeah. And as you said just a second ago, basically Max is like, come on, man, I'm the guy with the cap. And so the eye's like, all right, sure.
Gives him a new cap.
I just assume he grabbed the cap that the other guy had because you don't see it again somehow and made it appear on his head. And now suddenly we have there's only one cap. Apparently the gatekeeper controls it.
I guess so, yeah.
Who knows? So they're back at Earth and they have the confrontation with Talon. That doesn't go well for Talon. That's all I can really say. At one point, Max, in their fighting, basically smashes one of the eyes of Talon. And we should also mention Talon already went to New York City to Manhattan and was sucking people's souls out.
Yeah. Well, they found out that in the astral plane, Talon was immortal, and the CD,
it's called,
being on Earth now, nullifies this immortality because the CD is not on the astral plane anymore, which that was just a weird
coincidence.
Yeah.
And it was called the Mystic Disc of Immortality.
Yes. Talon's now super pissed. He's like, I gotta get this disc back because I want to be immortal. You're already a skull man. You're dead.
you don't have much more, man.
Yeah.
And it ends up being Max using this disc now that he's kind of changed Talon's mission. Now Talon wants this disc. Max ends up bending it because it would have snapped, man. We know that. Right. I've done it to a number of CDs. I know it wouldn't have lasted. And this allows him to kind of smash his pupils that contain millions of souls or whatever he had in there. And I guess eventually the thing just goes back to the astral plane, right? He can't just stay at Earth.
Max just is here, go fetch, and throws it. It flies for at least 30 seconds. It does a couple loops, goes into that astral plane portal that Max went through the first time, and Talon flies through it.
Yeah.
But he has no cap now, so he can't leave.
So it's okay, problem solved. And I think this is one of the only interdimensional episodes of this show. So I picked a weird one. I don't know what's going on. And then, as you did mention earlier in the show, they do an educational segment at the end of every episode of Mighty Max that is essentially related to whatever kind of things they covered. And they might not be as deep as this one, but this one was him at his desk talking about how when you're dreaming, you're kind of somewhere else, and you could be actually in a different dimension. So if you wanted to, you could kind of put yourself wherever you want to be.
Like, he said, like, some people believe that your dream self is basically like a ghost version of yourself in another dimension. And when you wake up, you return back to your body. Kind of, super deep, thoughtful conversation that you could have with friends and stuff on that theory.
But in a 90s Saturday morning cartoon kind of way.
But when it cut to it, I expected, I don't know, some just normal thing about like, it's always good to have batteries around the house. I don't know, like some average PSA.
It's not Sonic the Hedgehog PSAs, okay? It's not that level. So this was Season 2, Episode 11 of Mighty Max, the TV series, the episode Souls of Talon, if you guys want to go check that out. We'll have some clips thrown, obviously, throughout the show for you guys to enjoy the weird look of the show. I mean, it looks straight out of the 90s, like things like this. I don't want to say they don't date well, but you can start to pinpoint. I mean, at this point, we've watched a lot of cartoons for this show, many that I probably would have never gone out of my way. I can start to date like decades pretty easily, and this one for sure falls in the 90s. So Brad, any other thoughts on Mighty Max and this show?
The show's okay, but it was so confusing that I was just like, this is just weird. It's really, although like the thought process was really deep, it was such a shallow, poorly written show that it was like, I have this, it's like someone basically got high or took a bunch of drugs and came up with this idea, and they're like, the producer's like, I don't care, we're selling these toys, just like make the cartoon, like put whatever you want in there, just like have it all wrap up nicely.
Right. Do you think like, so Max is in every toy, and then most toys also had a chicken or a Viking, and they're like, I don't know, they're his friends, whatever, like make them save Earth. That's fine.
Yeah, we need some like skulls and things like that boys like. Birds, boys like crazy birds. Throw those in.
Skulls, more skulls. There's not enough skulls. Maybe some skateboarding episodes. And I also think the fact that we saw the toys and how they're all these heads of villains. They're like, just make like 100 villains. We got like all these toys. We gotta make them or whatever. It's kind of a fun chicken and the egg like experiment to figure out what came first, the toys of the series, or what's canon in this world, right?
Yeah.
I felt the same way where like I was pretty entertained, but man, does it like, it just has this slow moving pace to it that I just couldn't get behind. Like if there was a reaction shot to some explosion or something happening in the episode, something cosmic happening, it'd take like 6 cuts to show everyone's like like it just, I don't know, it had a weird quirky old charm to it. But it's a show I'm not going to go find any more of. I got to be honest. That's enough Mighty Max. And I think we picked a weirder one. It seems like from anything that I read of episode descriptions or anything, this seems like it's one of the most out there episodes. And I agree with you about the plot thing. Man, they had like this mission, it was going to happen, and then, oh, by the way, remember that CD he found? Like, yeah, that's like immortality, and switched it on you. So
yeah,
I don't know.
They didn't have to fight anyone. They just like sent them back. I don't know.
I feel like, too, calling it an action show, the action is less about fighting your enemies, because I'm assuming all the enemies are way huge, big bad guys like this dude, and this preteen's not going to fight them. So it's more like action of like escaping something or...
and him just being clever and kind of outwitting these dumb bad guys.
Yeah, suck it, bad guys. So with that, let's get out of here. Brad, where can people find out more about you when you're not recording Toon Talk Weekly?
So you can follow me on Twitter. It's @brad, and then my blog is digitalhitchhiker.com.
Great. Guys, go check that out. You can also follow me on Twitter @JacobWilliams. Of course, if you're watching the video version and you need to tweet us immediately, we get our Twitter handles right there. So you could tell us how wrong we were about Mighty Max. Toon Talk Weekly. If you guys want more of the show, we're on social media. We're all over it. @Toon Talk Weekly on Twitter, twitter.com. What? I almost said it again.
Twitter.com/Toon Talk Weekly.
We own Twitter. That's it. That's ours. Facebook.com is where I was going with that. Facebook.com/Toon Talk Weekly. We're also over on Google Plus at /Toon Talk Weekly as well. The email, toontalkweekly@gmail.com, is the main place to let us know what you think of the show, or let us know, again, facts about Mighty Max, because I feel like maybe there's some holes here that we're not filling in. And if you have more, we'd love to bring it up on the show. And finally, toontalkweekly.com, the main hub for the show, where you can find all the past episodes. We're up to 190 now, so we're crashing into 200 here in just another few weeks. So
nice.
So that's going to do it for this week's show. I don't have a cartoon preface for you guys for next week, but we'll get something good for you. There are some cool new shows on Nickelodeon that I was thinking about, so maybe it'll be something with that. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of Toon Talk Weekly. I don't want to talk about Mighty Max again. And see you guys next week when we talk about another cartoon.
Take care.
To learn more about the show, visit toontalkweekly.com or follow us on Twitter @ToonTalkWeekly.